Do you want to start, or shall I start?
Hello, everybody. Thanks for coming. Thanks for attending our session. I'm James Coomer from DDN, as you probably saw from my picture. And here are my colleagues from Polarise. Would you like to introduce yourselves again?
Yeah, I guess it was already up on the... Do you have the clicker? Yes.
Yes, yeah. I think that's helpful.
Okay, so to make it short, James already introduced himself. I mean, it's down there. Easier for me. I'm Nicolas. Hi, I'm the CTO of Polarise. Brought along Thimo. Maybe you can say a bit about yourself, and I guess we go into the introduction of Polarise then afterwards.
Perfect. Good morning, everyone, and thanks for joining our session today, also on behalf from Polarise side. My name is Thimo Groneberg. I'm Chief Commercial Officer at Polarise. Yes, and today we'll give you some insights about what we're striving for at Polarise, laying the foundation for Europe's AI leadership. And therefore, Nico will give you some more insights what we're doing at Polarise and especially about AI factories in Europe. Over to you.
Okay, so basically, I guess a lot of you already know the term about AI factories, and I guess that's a lot of the people kind of have their own interpretation of what an AI factory is. So Polarise is a rather young, I would say, startup still, maybe scale up, as you want to call it. We've come together with a lot of entrepreneurs who were in the space before, who built data centers, who built cloud infrastructure, and we said, well, we need to have a European alternative to the CoreWeaves out there and whatnot. And we wanted to see something happening, and that's where we started. And along the way, we found some great partners with DDN, for instance, and we figured out we cannot do everything ourselves, right? So there's a lot of stuff happening, a lot of things that you need to do to get into the AI space, a lot of topics that you need to cover in the AI space, and you need strong partnerships. And we mainly focus on NVIDIA hardware, on NVIDIA GPUs. That's what we do. We are one of the first who's going to deploy a GB200 cluster in Germany, or in Europe, I would say. And that's quite tackling in itself. So there's a whole new infrastructure that you need to take care of. There's the direct liquid cooling approach that you need to take care of, which is not part of a typical data center. And we said to ourselves, if we need to basically reinvent everything that classical data centers have been doing over the last couple of years, then let's build a full stack, because that's what we can do, and that's what we try to achieve. And we're doing everything ourselves. So we are building the data centers, we are building the cloud infrastructure, we are building the deployment stack, and that's what we are aiming for. I don't want to say too much. Maybe there's some other topics that we're going to touch up upon. It's only 20 minutes. I want to leave some room for you. And maybe then go to the next. Is that enough?
Perfect, Nico. Thank you. And over to you, James.
So we're in Germany, so everybody wants some technical stuff. So let's go a bit technical. Before we do that, just a little introduction for DDN. So we're providing the data platform underneath the Polarise cloud. Who in the audience has heard of DDN? Can I just have a look? Okay, very good. That's two people. One person works for DDN. So we've been around for 25 years. So shame on you for not knowing us. But we have been very, very hidden. We've been working in HPC, building the largest supercomputers in the world for all that time. And our role is the storage platform. So we don't get all the glory because we're not the CPU people, the compute people, but we make everything work. And in fact, I'd argue that we're almost as, if not more important in the world of AI than the compute platform itself. So 11,000 customers, 1,000 people, privately owned, US-based, but really global. And we really support the largest installations in the world. As you can see, our second biggest customer, the first one is XAI. Our second biggest customer is NVIDIA. Has anybody heard of NVIDIA in the audience? Probably got some hands there. You don't need to put your hands up for that one. So 7 years ago, Jensen went through a process when they started building superpods. If you cast your mind back, this was very early in the days of deep learning, and we were just starting to build these large, what they call superpods, very large supercomputers. And NVIDIA went through a process of trying to find the best data platform. And by best, really, it was quite simple back then. It was how fast is it, and how well does it scale, and does it stay available for a lot of the time, if not all of the time. And we were pit against all the other vendors in the world, and DDN kind of won that competition. And since then, DDN have been behind all of NVIDIA's large systems, for 7, 8 years. And we've really been building this parallel file system technology to support mostly large language model training, right? So we're building the ChatGPTs, the Megatron LMs, all these things, and they're being run on GPUs, and they're consuming the storage. We're pushing the data into the GPUs. We're checkpointing the models. We're pushing the models into the GPU memory. Lots of to and fro, very data intensive. And we've really learnt what's going on through that process. If you go to the next slide, you'll see things have become more complex. This is actually, as you can tell from the green, a bit of an NVIDIA slide. And they're describing the contents of an AI factory. And it's no longer one thing. And we've got many, many very complicated views about what the end-to-end process for AI looks like from the storage, from the data perspective. Now, just move your minds, because your minds tend to be inside GPUs. So move your minds into the storage for a minute and start off the AI process. Data is ingested from microscopes, from cars, from cameras, etc. It's labeled. It then gets munged. It gets cleaned. It gets normalized. We're seeing this data come to and fro, lots of messy stuff. Data scientists attack us and try to move this data and create data sets. Then we moved into training the models. The data sets gets moved into GPUs, checkpointed, moved into GPUs, checkpointed. And then we move into inference, and things get even more complicated as we run into production. We're constantly, during an individual query, you know this now with ChatGPT, you do individual query, that model, that single thread of the 1 in a million users is going to check and find something on the internet, find something in a knowledge base, find an object. It's going to try a very low latency query of some kind of object store or database, right? So throughout this whole end-to-end process, the data platform is a very keen player, if not the primary player. And we do argue sometimes that it shouldn't be called AI, it should be called DI. It's data intelligence, right? It's nothing artificial about it today, especially. Anybody agree? Just me. So in this picture behind me, we see this training part. That's what we've been talking about mainly. It's intensive. Thousands of GPUs, large models, and from a storage perspective, we're moving the model, which might be multiple terabytes, into the memory of the GPUs. We're feeding it with the data sets it requires to learn, and then we're checkpointing the model and keeping it safe. Then when we go to the edge, we're deploying this thing in a robot in a car. Then we've got to shrink the model to a tiny place, distribute it in, let's say, millions of endpoints, and then watch and support these models as they're live in production and pull data back from them all the time. We want to pull that data from the vehicle, from the robot, from the traffic light, etc. Another data problem, moving that data back. And then we move into digital twins, and it gets even more complex. In fact, in a digital twin, we're doing everything there is to do from a tough storage perspective. We're not only running these AI models in silico, well, in virtual reality, but we're also in tandem running these traditional HPC simulations to train the models with. We might be running CFD. We might be running meteorological code. We might be modeling quantum mechanics. So we're running the traditional HPC stuff, which was hard enough for the data platform as it was, and we're also at the same time running these AI models, and the two are feeding each other. We're feeding the HPC data into the AI models to create this new world of surrogate models. And the surrogate models is pretty much what AI factories are about, training these models in a virtual environment using typically traditional techniques, and then deploying them around this loop to get ever and ever superior models. Particularly important in sovereign AI, right? What is sovereign AI really? When a nation takes on, well, you probably saw in the news, we have Trump himself and Jensen is visiting the UK this week, I think, and they're investing in Microsoft announced 10 billion or something. So that's obviously sovereign AI, right? So the UK is going to try and do something big in AI. And typically what we do is we do something we're already good at, and we translate that into the world of AI and become even better at it, right? So probably the UK is going to do some finance stuff, right? We're quite good at that stuff. Germany is extremely good at automotive manufacturing and manufacturing in general. And so probably that's what the AI is going to be used for. And so you're going to be running those traditional applications and training these models, to create surrogate models to do everything much faster and much cleaner, to move your edge beyond where it is today and gain a new competitive edge over your other nations. So this is what we do. And you go to the next slide, please. Yes. And the question in your mind is, how does the data platform make it faster? And really, what we want to convince you of is, by using Polarise, and therefore by using DDN, you're going to get more results from your money than if you were to go elsewhere. That's really the main point, right? And for us, this becomes a really, all my life is spent doing this stuff. How can we do that? And this is just one little glimpse. We're diving down into that picture of the AI factory, looking at one little thing. And I'm going to show you what we've done in one tiny area to improve your outcomes, your business outcomes for running these models in Polarise. So what is this graph showing? Obviously, the great result is 18 times faster, right? But what's 18 times faster? Now, the point is, I want to draw a picture here. We're running this model. We've trained a model, right? We're running it in Polarise in the cloud. And today's models, they go through two stages. Really, there's a stage where you input your query. It's got to make sense of that stuff and compute attention. And then it's got to basically produce some results. Now, in between these two stages, there's data being created within this model. And it's typically called a KV cache. It's a bunch of key vector pairs, like could be very, very large, inside your query. It gets created at the start of your query, and it's consumed in the second part, and you get your answer back. Now, as we scale this inference workload to thousands and thousands of GPUs, it becomes ever more important to retain all these KV caches so that we don't have to recompute them in all these different stages, right? So we're swapping GPU-intensive compute for, hey, the data's over there, I'm just going to go get it. And this is what this is about. So it's being developed by ourselves and by NVIDIA. You might have heard Nixel, Dynamo, LM Cache, all these kind of terms. That's all built into this stuff. And what we're really doing is we're providing a huge ocean of these KV caches in order to avoid the recomputation when we're running these queries. 1 million users running 1 million queries. Now they can be 18 times faster just by switching on this global KV cache. So it's just starting. These are the first results. There's more to come. You'll see some announcements fairly soon at the GTC event, I think, in the US. But all this software is going to be available on the DDN platform underlying Polarize's infrastructure.
Okay, I'm going to take over this. This is a shared slide where we can talk about a bit our partnership. I guess what you already kind of found out, James has a lot more experience in doing speeches than I am. So I'm glad there's usually I do this part where I explain all the technical stuff and then people are shutting off, and I'm glad someone else took that over. So I won't make it too technical. So I guess if you're looking, and I mentioned this before, if you're looking at the AI space, when you're talking especially to customers from our side, then you have this big problem where customers are like, I want to do something. I don't know what yet, but I want to do something. And then you're trying to find a solution for them. And we were looking around, looking at a huge opportunity of different storage vendors. And I don't want to discredit any one of them, but it's hard to find someone where you have an enterprise approach in mind, because there are enterprise customers approaching you, there are smaller startups approaching you, and you need to find a good middle ground in between that. And I think that's something that we can say for the platform, and I think Thimo's going to show a bit what we are doing on the next slide. But that's something that we like, especially in the partnership, that I guess we can tackle pretty much every requirement that's out there, right? So, and that's what we are looking at. And I think that's something that if I'm looking around, looking at all the booths here, then it's still, there are a lot of players, and I think that's great for Europe. But there's this, I think there's still this small spark missing that brings everyone together. I think that's something we can maybe achieve here, and that's where I leave it to you, and you can talk a bit about products and then see where it goes. So it's on you now.
Perfect. Yes, for sure. Thanks, James and Nico, for our partnership, what we're doing with DDN and why storage, beside super performant NVIDIA GPUs, are so important for running our services. But now let's come down to the question, beside all these technical details, how could this service, this technology be adapted to your systems, your customer use cases, and so on. And that's what we try at Polarise to make accessible. At Polarise, we have a large portfolio of different AI services from AI factories development, AI co-location. But for today, our focus is on our AI cloud services, which are based on the DDN storage portfolio, where we're looking on our partnership. And to give you a quick overview, for make it really easy and fast accessible for your use cases. We are offering 3 different cloud services, starting at the easiest entry point, our Polarise Drive product, where we're offering different kinds of models from NVIDIA, from Llama, and so on, where you can choose out of a large catalog of, and easily and instantly adopt these models fully operated, fully managed out of a European sovereign AI factory, where you can choose out of our different locations in Oslo, Munich, or Frankfurt. This offering is completely based on tokens. You choose your model, there's a pricing on the model, and you can exactly use that one which is the perfect fitting for your use cases and your software environment. Beside this, we have our Polarise Core product. It's also a Kubernetes-based cloud product where we are offering a bit more flexible, virtualized on Kubernetes and Slurm. You can use vGPUs based on NVIDIA, performant DDN storage, and run on this your different AI workloads. And for larger scale use cases, let's come in touch with us and discuss what's the right solution. And therefore, we are offering a dedicated AI private cloud for a large range of use cases, from smaller setups, just a few GPUs with a very custom software stack with it individually set up for your environment, up to large-scale AI environments distributed about our locations in Europe. So far, a quick overview over the portfolio and how we try to make it easy for you to adapt all these kind of technology for your business and your customers. So far from our side, thanks for joining our session. Please feel free, we are here with DDN and our booth. Come in touch with us. We are really happy to discuss about your use cases, your needs in terms of AI, and running this in a European AI factory. Also in our session is Manusos. Maybe you can raise your hand from DDN side. Please feel free to also come in touch with him. Myself, if you scan the QR code, you can book an appointment for a demo of our Polarise Drive product. And feel free to catch us now after the session, and we are happy to answer your questions. We have 2 minutes left. Maybe a good chance to directly jump in your questions.
Yeah, as I
Thanks,
see,
everyone.
you don't even need me to moderate, but first, give it up for them. Thank you very much for your insights.